Hello, welcoming you to today's podcast. Lots of people have been talking about the shadow self, and I sort of got a bit interested in it because I hadn't thought about it from a energetic or spiritual psychic point of view. And I wanted to talk to you about that today. The shadow self is purported to be that part of ourselves, probably the dark, naughty one stuff, the part of ourselves that we don't want to admit that we have, or that we indulge in sometimes, particularly if we drinking or getting into stuff. And it's somewhere that people go as well. They know that this is their shadow self doing this. I actually feel the shadow self in the aura is something a little different. My guides told me that the shadow self is our negative energy within the aura. Usually it's emotional, so it could be where we put our shadow self would contain our anger, our rage, our hate. It could contain our fear, our terror, our trauma. It also can contain our sadness and our depression. So it has that part of our aura which is got a lot of that. Sometimes it's also from rejection and from neglect. And I feel that there's not a lot of self-love in the shadow part of our aura because it doesn't have much love in it. That's why we're doing things to make ourselves feel better, because we actually don't feel loved. And that's why the shadow self is trying to make up for that. These negative emotions are always going to be roaming around our aura, we know that, but they can collect and make a bigger and bigger shadow. And also the other thing is the thought forms, how we think and what we think and what we say and how we talk about things. For example, if we think we're a loser or we're too fat or we hate people or we don't think we're good enough, all these negative, what I call negative thought forms about ourselves, that doesn't matter, I'm never going to be healthy, I'll never be able to quit smoking. It's that negative thought form. I'll never be happy, I'll never meet anyone. They also congregate in the aura and create the shadow self. I think there's like two parts. There's the emotional and then there's the mental, like how we think. It's in the mind and in the mental body. I think it's better to diminish your shadow self because it's not full of love. So you can have a part of you that's like 70% full of love and positive and wanting to help other people, etc., and self-love. And then you have this other percentage that's left over, which is not that, which is devoid of love. And actually there's quite a lot of self-hate maybe in that, and saying bad things about yourself or bad things have been said about you and diminished you, and pretty low self-esteem can be in that part. It's up to you how much of the shadow self you want. It's a personal choice. From a healer point of view, from a spiritual advancement point of view, the more we are clear and full of light and less of dark and shadow, the more we can align with our spiritual journey and also become more psychic and be more of love. And also the less we have darkness in us, the better we're going to be health-wise. Because the more darkness you have in the aura, the more health problems there will be. That's the truth. As a healer and as a reader, that's what I've noticed so strongly, that the more negativity that a person has, the more shadow self, the dark self, the worse the health is. And that can be like mental, emotional health, and then sometimes it goes right into physical health too. People suffer more from depression, anxiety, these things because of the shadow self. So my take on it is that even though people are owning it and sort of talking about it like it's a cool thing to have, that's my shadow self, my attitude is let's be a better self. Let's be a person with more light and less dark, and let's let go of those emotions and let go of those negative thought patterns and change them. First of all, with the emotions, you find ways to release it, all your anger, the negative feelings you have about different things, you let it go. Grudges are very big in that, holding on to grudges, not letting go of the past, blaming, shaming, they go in that. And I kind of feel that the more we let go of all these things, the fear and the terror and the trauma, that the shadow self diminishes. And the other way is that we change how we think. So instead of being negative about something, we try to come from a more positive place, which is the light. And instead of being like mean to someone or saying something, being smart aleck and diminishing someone, we be kind to them. And we be quiet sometimes, actually. And we don't voice our point of view because it might hurt the other person. And that's coming from love. And our thoughts are more loving. When you want to deal with someone and you have issues with them, you might still have those issues with them and you have to deal with them. But what I do is I just put them aside. So if I'm upset with them or if I'm angry with them or I'm cranky about something, if I haven't processed some emotions around it, what I do is I'll just put it aside, like next door to me, and then I go straight front to the person from my heart, a place of love. And then I process those emotions along the way. Because emotions are transient. They come and they go. And they only don't go if we don't let them go. They say this little saying, we are what we release. And there's a lot of truth in that. The more you hold on to and won't let go, the more you change your aura and make it more paralysed with all these things. When I've checked people who are very ill, people who have cancer, and people who are older perhaps, because, maybe in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and I go to all the chakras, there's so much negative energy there, and there's so much what I call that part of them that is dark. I'm really aware that people are owning the shadow self as it's a good thing. I just go to my shadow self. Whereas from an energy point of view, it's not a good thing to have it, and you want to get it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because it's going to make you sick. And that's the beginning and the end of it. And it's going to actually make you feel like crap because the more darkness you have and the more issues you have, the worse you begin to feel. And you become really like an angry ant, and you won't be good for other people to be with you too because they'll pick on that darkness. I feel that it also has a little bit of victim in it. For example, if you want to ascend, you have to become a survivor and you have to let it go. And you have to realise your part in that and take responsibility for how it went down or what you did or what you could have done with that was better. And that's a really good thing. And that's also part of letting the new changes come in because this year is the beginning of a lot of the new changes. There's been tons of solar flares, or what do they call them, coming through. And that's changed the energy. That's why I think there's been a lot of electrical things with planes and computers and everything. But it's also changing the energy, and that's a good thing. Therefore, we want to be ascending and going up into the next vibration, and we don't want to be dragging all our rubbish with us, all our dark stuff. The other good thing about minimising your shadow self is there will be less addiction and need to go there. You won't have to get the thrill or the buzz of that, the high of that, because you actually feel quite low. That's the thing you have to understand, that you're trying to get the energy up in that area because all those emotions and all those thoughts are actually low energy, not high energy in your aura. They're low. Things like love and joy and hope and kindness, these are all things that are high energy vibrationally. So the more you have it in your aura, you will vibrate higher. That means that your whole body's vibrating higher, which means you are less likely to get sick. Of course, when it's your time to go, you will go because we've got like a plan there. Everyone's got their little plan when they go, and that cannot be stopped. However, to live a happier life and a more loving life and a life with more light, you want to get rid of the negativity, which is like, for example, the shadow self. I think you'll think about this. I think you'll wonder how much shadow self you have and whether you actually want to indulge it or actually get rid of it. And that's a personal choice you make. However, I don't think the way they're making out like it's a kind of a cool thing and it's a good thing and is so good energetically. And I'm all about energy and healing and coming from a loving space. So for me too, a lot of those emotions are not coming from a loving space. And it's quite all right to have them, but remember they should be transient. So you get angry, you get upset, you feel rejected, you have a cry about it, whatever the thing is. and then it goes. Because as you clear the aura vibrates higher, and that's why healing is successful, because what they're doing is clearing up these negative energies, these lower vibrations. I hope you can understand what I was talking about, because I'm really coming from a different perspective than people talk about the shadow self. However, I think it has great value in terms of healing and understanding how the aura works. Because the aura, when little kids come in, they're just full of light. When I was teaching and I'd be in the yard, I could see when they were running around, and I could see all the green around them. They had so much green. You could just see them like shining in the playground. But as people get older, they become less light, and therefore that's because there's too much shadow, as I'd call it, negative energy, as I'd call it. But we can do a lot about that, you see. People are learning that they don't have to carry all that around. They can let it go, and there's lots of modalities, and I've talked about that so many times, tapping, meditation. You can go do hypnotism if you want to, get hypnotised. There's tons of things. Kinesiology will help you, working on your meridians. There's so many things you can do to release it. But the most important thing is that you are, in your mind and your soul, if they're in alignment to release it, you will release it. If you want to let it go, you'll let it go. It's that simple. They make big stories about, oh, it's so hard to do. No, it isn't. If you want to let it go, you let it go. And then I always think it's good to replace it with love. So if you want to do your shadow work, do your release thing, and then come back and try to see your little shadow and fill it up with light, fill it up with love. I often put pink in there and yellow because that's joy, and fill it up with better light where it's been in your aura, because it can create a shadow if there's a lot of it in the aura. But I feel that at the beginning it's all over the place, and even though they call it your shadow self, it's actually all over the aura. And then as you collect more and more, it becomes more like a shadow. It's not the best part of you, and I think that's why we need to get a better part of us. So that's my take on it. I hope you find it interesting, and I hope you can do some work on your shadow self. Sending you lots of love and lots of light.